Martin, Helen, thank you very much for taking the time out to talk to me. So maybe you could just introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit about your involvement with PISA.
My name's Helen Scally. I'm a principal teacher of chemistry, and I've also started a new role as an Education Scotland associate. And I'm working with Martin.
Okay, what does an education associate mean?
It is a role where teachers from across Scotland have been invited to work with Education Scotland on particular projects.
Okay.
So one of those projects is the PISA Assessment 2025.
Great, thank you. And Martin?
I'm a former principal teacher of sciences, and I'm also an Education Scotland associate and focused again on the PISA 2025 assessments.
Well, let's jump in. What do you think of PISA?
I think it's a really exciting body of work, a piece of research, and it's something that teachers don't always know the depths of, and just how valuable the data is.
Yeah.
So it's really important for us in our team as Education Scotland associates that we are increasing the awareness of PISA data and also the value of the data for Scotland. So as part of that, what we're actually involved in is creating like a suite of resources for teachers and other people within the education sector. So we've started off with preparing some videos. The first
Like
one,
this one.
like this one. Thanks for helping out with that, by the way.
It's my pleasure.
So another one was for learners, parents, and guardians. We had then a second video, which was for kind of the people within schools who are sort of involved in organising the PISA assessments themselves. Okay. So that's usually a deputy head teacher, there'll be the ICT coordinator, and maybe other science technicians or IT technicians within the school. And then the third video is this one here, and this is for teachers, senior leaders, and also for kind of government or rather authority officials.
Oh no, I suddenly feel very self-conscious.
No. But there is more. We're also organising 4 online support webinars, which will be networking sessions for teachers and senior managers. That'll allow them to both raise questions, especially for their first-time schools doing the PISA assessments, and just to generally get the experience that the Scottish Government are able to pass on.
I think I didn't quite realise about the sort of visibility of it. I perhaps assumed everyone knew about PISA and it was common knowledge, but there does seem to be a bit of an issue in terms of its visibility.
It is, especially for learners, because learners haven't had a chance to answer the style of questions that PISA is going to be asking. And so we're really going to encourage learners and schools to get involved with the Exemplar online questions so that it takes down the temperature and makes them feel less nervous about the whole process.
What do you, I mean, as we both work in schools, I'm interested in what you think the kind of value of it is in terms of the data itself, but actually the participation of it. Do you think it's a good thing? Are you impressed with it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, first of all, for young people, as Martin said, they've not really experienced the type of questions maybe that they're going to see in the PISA assessment. So they do need to get some practice on those types of questions. But what they're going to get is also an ability to have a voice in Scottish education and have their voice heard, which is so important for them in moving forward with the curriculum improvement cycle as well. But I think what we're really keen to do is just to ensure that everyone is aware of the PISA assessments and that they value that data that it generates.
Yeah.
I think it's just that, if we can get young people to understand the importance of the data from this survey, because this is based on the post-assessment survey, and if they realise that if they capture their experience in Scottish education and understand how that data could then be used to influence future education in Scotland, I think they'll feel they've got a real part in the process.
Seems to benefit everyone, doesn't it? That you've got the students. I mean, reading the questions, I can see the benefit of answering questions like that. Makes you think a bit differently to the kind of standard kind of questions you might answer at school.
And that's why it's so important that I think anybody who's undertaking that assessment has a chance to try some of the exemplar questions. They are a different style to certainly SQA questions or BGE science or literacy numeracy questions. So it's important to do that. And once they've been through a few, then I think they'll feel a lot more relaxed about going in to do the assessment process.
Good for learners, good for teachers, good for policymakers.
Yeah.
I think.
Should be.
And we really want the young people to be confident going into these assessments, and we want them to be motivated to do their best. The survey is anonymous, so it kind of takes some of the pressure off the young people a little bit. So hopefully they can go in, do their best, and just get the most out of the experience as well, because like we said, it's going to give them some opportunities to try different types of questions, apply their learning, do some problem solving. The assessments are quite interactive, so they're different to what they've seen before, but hopefully it should be an enjoyable experience for them to some point.
The questions aren't like questions you normally see in school. So I'm interested in how you prepare for them, because it's not like a memory exercise. It's how does one prepare for these questions?
Yeah, it's really, it is really interesting. It's quite different to what they've seen before. So really looking at the current Scottish curriculum, we want to really focus on the topical science organiser, which is key to this type of assessment, because the topical science enables teachers to support learners to develop their scientific literacy skills.
What do you mean by topical? So give us an example.
So they might be looking at kind of controversies around mobile phone masts or flat earthers or vaccine hesitancy, things like that. So just, or even, just anything that's coming up in the news, just anything that really sparks their interest as well from the news and from everyday life. But we want them to be able to take that information and they've got to kind of critically analyse it, understand what the sources are, where it's come from, be aware that things could be misinformation or disinformation, and be able to evaluate what the information is that they have in front of them. So we want them to be scientifically literate, but also to be kind of able to form and develop their own opinions on these issues.
See, I think this is really important. It's as important as knowledge is that we get from school. Understanding what science is and how science works and what are the values of science is pretty fundamental. Yes. Okay, so in terms of PISA visibility, we've got a series of videos. What else do we have?
Well, they've also got a series of online support webinars, which are for senior leaders and teachers in schools, to give them a chance to ask questions about the process, and especially useful for those schools who have not taken part in PISA before. Yeah.
So people who want to find out more about PISA, where can they go to get all the information?
All these support materials can be found on the Education Scotland website and under the National Improvement Hub, but there'll also be a QR code at the end of this video and also a link to where you can find all the resources.
Great, fantastic. Thank you both so much. I've had such a fascinating day today. I came here this morning not knowing anything about PISA, and I have learned so much and lots of real positive things to take away. The fact that Scotland is above average in its reading, for example, or the fact that it really takes into account the importance of science in society, out of the classroom and in the real world. And I think perhaps more than anything, the fact that PISA really acts as a huge mirror for the education system as a whole and can measure itself against the rest of the world and take the best bits from here and the best bits from there and apply it to its own education system. But really actually meeting some of the young learners in there and remembering that every single data point that we talk about refers to a young person's life, to their dreams, to their aspirations, and that is the real value of PISA.